AUTO-ANGLAIS, Advanced Level. Cassette 1, Side B.
On this side, we take you around Greenwich Village, traditionally the home of New York's artists and bohemians. And we report on Americans' strong stand against smoking. But first, we go to London to hear how a piece of France found its way to Great Britain.
ELLE magazine was first launched in France in 1945 and has since become synonymous with fashion, beauty and style. Now it has editions all over Europe and indeed the world. I spoke to the editor of the British edition, Sally Brampton. Before listening to the interview, here is some vocabulary that may help you.
Glossies.
Magazines printed on glossy or shiny paper with lots of colour photos.
A gap in the market.
A part of the market which doesn't yet have a suitable product.
To launch a magazine.
To start a new magazine.
Coverage.
News reporting.
An upmarket product.
A product for people with a lot of money.
A downmarket product.
A product for people who don't have a lot of money. And now let's go over to the ELLE offices. First, I asked Sally Brampton how she had set about adapting a French magazine for a British public.
Well, we took the basis of ELLE, which is I think it's a very exciting magazine. It has a lot of joie de vivre, spontaneity. And we took the design, which again I think is wonderfully cheerful, and we really adapted it for a British market. So I applied all the principles of ELLE, which is good news coverage, good health reports, surveys, and very good fashion and beauty, and applied that to the British public. We're slightly more eccentric in our attitude to fashion in this country than I believe you are in France. I know you are in France. So our look is a bit more idiosyncratic, a little more eccentric, a little more individual.
You know, when you go to a bookstore and you look at the number of magazines, Cosmopolitan Company, how do you try to stand out?
That was obviously a question that was asked when we launched, because launching a magazine is very expensive and you can't afford to fail. So I looked for a gap in the market, and I felt that there was a gap for women of my age who are in their 20s, who don't relate to the younger group of magazines, who find a magazine like Cosmo very much a magazine of the 70s, which is all about how to keep your man, etc. It's still a good magazine, but it's based more on that. Then on the upmarket glossies, there's Vogue and Harper's and Tatler, which are much more sophisticated, much more society. And then you have women's journal options, which are more domestically inclined. And right in the middle, there was a huge gap for a magazine for independent, intelligent women who knew their own mind, who were interested in style, who liked to cook, who liked to be kept aware of social issues, political issues. And I think that's how we do it.
Now listen to some of the expressions used and see if you remember some of the vocabulary you heard before the interview.
So I applied all the principles of ELLE, which is good news coverage.
Repeat.
News coverage.
Does this mean
Reporting of the news.
reading the news?
Reporting of the news.
Coverage, reporting of the news. For example, I was not impressed by the TV coverage of the Olympics.
So our look is a bit more idiosyncratic.
Repeat.
Idiosyncratic.
Does this mean
Individualistic.
distinguished?
Individualistic.
Idiosyncratic, individualistic. For example, she's a little idiosyncratic and likes to do things her own special way.
Because launching a magazine is very expensive and you can't afford to fail.
Repeat.
To launch.
Does this mean
To finance.
to put onto the market?
To put onto the market.
To launch a product. To put it onto the market. For example, if we launch the new model in February, our sales should rise dramatically.
So I looked for a gap in the market and I felt that there was a gap.
Repeat.
A gap in the market.
Does this mean
A good place.
an empty place?
An empty place.
Gap, an empty place or space. For example, if there's a gap in your analysis, nobody will understand it.
Then on the upmarket glossies.
Repeat.
Upmarket glossies.
Does this mean
Magazines for people with a lot of money.
magazines with the highest sales?
Magazines for people with a lot of money.
Upmarket glossies. Color magazines for people with a lot of money.
How do you try to stand out?
Repeat.
To stand out.
Does this mean
To distinguish yourself from the others.
to be in a better position?
To distinguish yourself from the others.
To stand out. To distinguish yourself from the others. For example, he's a really outstanding athlete. Now listen again to Sally.
I applied all the principles of ELLE, which is good news coverage, good health reports, surveys, and very good fashion and beauty, and applied that to the British public.
Repeat.
To apply.
To apply. To put to use for a special objective. Listen to the example.
American marketing tactics. Europe.
I applied American marketing tactics to Europe. Now you do it.
My financial knowledge. Stock market.
I applied my financial knowledge to the stock market. And listen again.
Women of my age who are in their 20s, who don't relate to the younger group of magazines.
Repeat.
To relate to.
To relate to. To feel a connection with. Listen to the example.
People who don't like to travel.
I can't relate to people who don't like to travel. Now you transform the sentence using to relate to.
Other people's children.
I can't relate to other people's children. And now listen to how Sally describes some of her readers.
And then you have women's journal options, which are more domestically inclined.
Repeat.
Domestically inclined.
If you are domestically inclined, you enjoy looking after your home and family. Listen to the example.
He likes mathematics.
He's mathematically inclined. Now you use inclined in the same way.
She's very artistic.
She's artistically inclined.
He's very good at mechanics.
He's mechanically inclined. And one last expression.
Who like to be kept aware of social issues.
Repeat.
To be kept aware of.
Or to be aware of.
If you are aware of something, you know about it.
Repeat.
Issues.
An issue. An important subject, usually one that concerns a lot of people. Now listen to the example.
Do you know about the unemployment situation in Great Britain?
Are you aware of the issue of unemployment in Great Britain? Now you transform the sentence in the same way.
Do you know about the problems of immigration in the States?
Are you aware of the issue of immigration in the States? And now for some pronunciation. Listen and repeat the following words, paying special attention to where the tonic accent falls. Idiosyncratic. Individualism. Eccentric. Spontaneity. Sophistication.
Take a deep breath and hold it. Hold, ready. 3, exhale. Let your eyes relax and let your body float. Imagine yourself floating down right through the chair. As you concentrate on the floating, I'm going to concentrate on your left arm and hand. Your left hand will lift upward, your left elbow bend, your forearm float into an upright position. Now your hand in this upright position becomes for you a signal to enter a state of meditation. Are you for your body or are you not? Are you for living or are you not? Now, of course, if you're not for living, keep on smoking, arrange for cremation, and end it all in smoke.
Yes, that's just one of the ways to give up smoking, through hypnosis and meditation. Millions of smokers all over the world are trying to fight the war against nicotine, but in the United States, it's become a battle. Even if you want to carry on smoking, it's almost impossible. The anti-smoking lobby is just too strong. We spoke to some air hostesses on a plane in California and asked them what they felt about dividing the smokers from the non-smokers. Do you think it's right to ostracize people because they smoke, to put them in separate parts of restaurants or in aeroplanes?
I feel that it's a thing to please everyone. Yeah, it makes everybody feel more comfortable. When we first started on the airlines, we had maybe a couple of rows of non-smokers, which is maybe 10% of the airplane. Now it's like 75%. And usually where we have the smokers, that's where people drink also. I don't know why, but usually if you have a cigarette in your hand, there's drinking also. When we come to the non-smoking areas, we usually just serve soft drinks, and very seldom do we have a lot of drinkers up in that area.
What is happening in the States?
They're just not allowing you to smoke, really, is what it comes down to. They're doing everything for you not to smoke.
California seems to be on the avant-garde of non-smoking regulations. Do you think they're going too far? Where are the places that you can smoke now?
You know, I respect what they're doing. I think there should be non-smoking and smoking sections. And I'm in favor of that. If you know ahead of time it's a non-smoking restaurant, that's fine. You can choose to go or not to go. But even in restaurants where they have non-smoking and smoking sections, if you're in the smoking section, the people are complaining.
Now listen to some of the expressions that were used.
Do you think it's right to ostracize people because they smoke?
Repeat.
To ostracize.
Does this mean?
To criticize. To ban. To ban.
To ostracize, to ban, or to ignore someone. For example,
Richard Nixon was ostracized because of the Watergate scandal.
When we come to the non-smoking areas, we usually just serve soft drinks, and very seldom do we have a lot of drinkers up in that area.
repeat.
Soft drinks.
Are these?
Sweet drinks. Drinks without alcohol. Drinks without alcohol.
Soft drinks, non-alcoholic drinks. For example,
If you're driving, you'd better just have a soft drink.
If you know ahead of time it's a non-smoking restaurant, that's fine.
repeat.
Ahead of time.
Does this mean
In advance, just in time. In advance.
ahead of time, early, in advance? For example,
If you want to be sure of a table, please reserve ahead of time.
now here are some other expressions of time. Repeat.
In time.
Does this mean
Not late, at the right time. Not late. In time, not late.
and another one? Repeat.
On time.
Does this mean
Early, at the correct time. At the correct time.
on time, at the correct time? Now use ahead of time, in time, or on time when you hear the sound signal.
Do you know the train wasn't at all late today? It came on time.
John arrived half an hour before the meeting. He arrived ahead of time.
Fortunately, I got there before they closed. I got there just in time.
And now back to that aeroplane where something unexpected was going on.
Well, suddenly, the plane nearly went up in smoke. The non-smoking section had been overbooked, so some of the non-smokers were moved into the smoking section, where, of course, they began to complain about the smoke. The smokers stuck up for their rights, and there was nearly a riot. Was this a typical scene, we wondered?
The general trend is that the non-smokers are very vehement, very adamant. What you witnessed today is the exact opposite of what we normally see. Non-smokers tend to scream, yell, jump up and down, pound their chest, beat on the floor, and scream about their rights to live. Smoking is a real big issue in the U.S. nowadays. It's a fighting issue. The smokers' rights groups, the We Deserve Clean Air to Breathe groups are adamant. They are overpowering. And they're winning. And they're winning because they scream real loud.
So, how well did you get on? Listen.
The general trend is that the non-smokers are very vehement.
Repeat.
Trend.
Does this mean
Tendency. Point of view. Tendency.
trend, tendency? For example,
There is a trend towards having smaller families.
now you use the word trend in the sentences. For example,
In the US, more and more people are taking regular exercise. In the US, there is a trend towards taking regular exercise.
now you do it.
In England, more and more people are drinking non-alcoholic drinks. In England, there is a trend towards drinking non-alcoholic drinks.
And now listen to some smoky idioms.
Well, suddenly, the plane nearly went up in smoke.
Repeat.
To go up in smoke.
When we say something goes up or ends in smoke, we mean it doesn't succeed. For example,
His business went up in smoke, and he never made any money.
let's look at some other expressions with smoke.
There's no smoke without fire.
Repeat.
There's no smoke without fire.
This means
You don't get the effects of a situation without a good cause.
for example,
I'm not sure if this rumor is true or not, but we better check. There's no smoke without fire.
and another one.
A smoke screen.
Repeat.
A smoke screen. This means something intended to hide the truth.
For example,
Politicians often put up smoke screens to hide the real facts. Going back to our passengers, one gentleman smoker explained his attitude. I must say it made me want to give up smoking immediately. They do say that smoking damages the brain cells. Are you a smoker?
Yes, I am.
Do you feel made to feel guilty about smoking in American society?
But can you simplify that a little bit? What do you mean, really?
When you're with a crowd of your friends and they're non-smokers, do you feel guilty about lighting up?
Usually I don't. If I'm with my friends that don't smoke, I don't smoke. You know, if I'm around people that smoke, you know, my friends that smoke, I will smoke a lot.
Do you think on the whole Americans are very conscious about smoking and non-smoking?
What do you mean, conscious?
Another smoker wanted to give up, but just couldn't find that perfect moment.
Do you think you will give up smoking one day?
Yes.
What do you think is going to make you make that decision?
Oh, nothing's going to make me make that decision. It's just when I feel it's convenient in my life to tackle.
Well, now it's about time for a little grammar. Listen.
Yeah, it makes everybody feel more comfortable.
Repeat.
It makes everybody feel more comfortable. To make someone feel. To make someone do something.
Now use the phrases in a sentence with the structure to make someone do something. For example,
His wife, get a better job. His wife made him get a better job.
now you do it.
Her colleagues feel unhappy. Her colleagues made her feel unhappy. Your cigar me feel sick. Your cigar makes me feel sick.
Tell St. Peter that don't let him get you just hate to make him wait. You just gotta have another cigarette. On your left, Washington Square, right in the heart of Greenwich Village. My, what trees smell that air! Painters and pigeons in Washington Square.
Greenwich Village, the home of artists, musicians, students, ethnic communities, and young professionals. The village has developed and maintained its own special character since the 1800s, making it one of the most distinctive and attractive enclaves of New York City. Michelle went to the village and asked people in the busy streets what makes life there so special.
I wouldn't live anyplace else. For one thing, the streets are so safe. I can walk out. I'm living alone. I can walk out at 2, 3 in the morning. I think this is one part of New York where everybody talks to everybody else. We know all of our neighbors, and we watch out for each other.
You say that you used to live in the village, but you don't anymore. Did you move out for a specific reason?
I moved out for 2 reasons. One, there were too many people living in my apartment, which seems to be a village way of life. And all of the noise down below my window, always at night, the people partying and up and up and up.
So here you're a Frenchman living in Greenwich Village. Are you happy to live here?
I am absolutely happy, yes.
And why did you pick the village?
Because it's the nicest place. It's a lot of life, a lot of straight people. That's it.
Now see if you know the meaning of some of the expressions used about Greenwich Village.
We know all of our neighbors, and we watch out for each other.
Repeat, to watch out for. Does this mean
To notice what other people do.
to look after other people?
To look after other people.
To watch out for, to look after. For example, People don't often watch out for each other in big cities. Watch out can also have a negative meaning. For example, watch out for Fred, he's only interested in your money. American English often makes verbs from nouns. For example, a party to party. Listen.
And all of the noise down below my window, always at night, the people partying.
Repeat. Partying. Another example is a rendezvous, to rendezvous. For example, let's rendezvous at 5 o'clock. Well, let's get back to the village. What kind of people go there? Who are the street people and who are the residents? We found out that in Greenwich Village, there is room for just about everybody.
We have a lot of troubadours in the streets who play for whatever handouts they get. And I think what I love best is that you'll get as much classical music as you will the group. You know, the guitar players and folk singers and such.
What kind of people live in the village? I think all kinds of people live in the village. I think a lot of creative people, a lot of professional people. We were both psychotherapists, and I know a lot of people on our street were psychotherapists, and so I guess there are certain similarities, right? Either you're a therapist or you're a client, one of the two, or both.
Well, a lot of people say it's being gentrified, means that the rich people are moving in and pushing the poor people out.
But aren't there still a lot of Italians and Chinese and different ethnic groups living here?
Yes, there's a whole melange of ethnic groups, quite a few Italians.
Now, how much did you understand of all that? Listen.
We have a lot of troubadours in the streets who play for whatever handouts they get.
Repeat. Handouts. Does this mean
Gifts of money?
things people are throwing out?
Gifts of money.
Handouts. Gifts of money. For example, he's never done a day's work, he just lives off handouts. The noun handout comes from the verb to hand out. Many other nouns can be made from verbs by adding the suffix out. For example,
This has been printed out on a computer.
it's a printout. Now you find the nouns from the verbs.
The Russians are pulling out of Afghanistan. It's a pull out.
All the tickets were sold. It was a sellout.
Everybody stopped work and walked out. It was a walkout.
And now a final look at the village. Let's let two enthusiasts have the last word.
Oh, I love it. I love the village. Because the village is so colorful and all the people are great and all the restaurants and people come here and they ask me directions how to get to NYU or, you know, where's the park and where's a good place to eat or I like to give them directions on the subway.
On my street, I'm absolutely amazed people leave their bikes on the street overnight. Nobody touches them. That's just unheard of in New York City. When you feel safe like that, you kind of open up and flourish.
And now listen again to the young woman who was so enthusiastic about the village.
People come here and they ask me directions how to get to NYU or, you know, where's the park and where's a good place to eat or I like to give them directions on the subway.
Here she is, describing the questions people ask her. But can you find the original question? For example,
people come here and they ask me directions, you know, where's the park?
Excuse me, can you tell me the way to the park?
Now you do it. A good place to eat.
Excuse me, can you tell me a good place to eat?
The way to NYU.
Excuse me, can you tell me the way to NYU?
The nearest subway station.
Excuse me, can you tell me the way to the nearest subway station?
Now, there are as many different places to live in New York as there are neighborhoods. For example, you can live in a co-op, a loft, a brownstone, a walk-up, a high-rise, or a squat. Repeat. A co-op, a loft, a brownstone, a walk-up, a squat, a high-rise. Now listen to the definitions and try to find the type of housing that goes with each one. For example,
A big open top-story apartment.
a loft. Now you do it.
An apartment building where the residents own their apartments.
A co-op.
A house built in the 1880s in a row of similar houses.
A brownstone.
Unofficially occupied housing where nobody pays rent.
A squat.
A cold water flat in a building without an elevator.
A walk-up.
A large apartment building with a doorman, often part of a complex.
A high-rise. End of side B.